Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good morning to all of you. Thank you for inviting me to speak with you, Mr. Muhammad Arafat, and members of your council. I'm truly honored. I have played some small role in the life of this nation, but having been on the wrong side of one or two political fights with the powers that be, I am not as close to the young people of this country as I would hope to be. History and the 8 o'clock news are written by the victors. In recent years, the government's monopoly of the media has been destroyed by the technology revolution. You could say I was also a member of the UKEC. Well, I was, except that belonged to the predecessor of the UKEC by more than 50 years, the Malaysian Students' Union of the United Kingdom and ERA. I led this organization in 1958-59. I was then a student of Queen's University of Belfast, as well as a legal student at Lincoln's Inn, in a rather cooler climate than Kota Baru's. We campaigned for decolonization at that time. We demonstrated in Trafalgar Square and even in Paris. We made posters and participated in British elections. Your invitation to participate in the MSLS was prefaced by an essay which calls for an intellectually informed activism. I congratulate you on this. The youth of today, you note, will chart the future of Malaysia. You say you no longer want to be ignored and leave the future of our Malaysia at the hands of the current generation. You want to grab the bull by the horns and have a say in where we go as a society and as a nation. I feel the same, actually. A lot of Malaysians feel the same. They are tired of being ignored and talked down to. You are right. The present generation in power has let Malaysia down. But also you cite two things as testimony of the importance of youth and of student activism to this country. The election results of 2008 and the Prime Minister's acknowledgement of the role of youth in the development of the country. So perhaps you are a little way yet from thinking for yourselves. The first step in grabbing the bull by the horns is not to require the endorsement of the Prime Minister or any minister for your activism. Politicians like me are not your parents. They are your servants. You don't need a government slogan coined by a foreign PR agency to wrap your project in. You just go ahead and do it. When I was a student, our newly independent country was already a leader in the post-colonial world. We were sought out as a leader in the Afro-Asian Conference, which inaugurated the non-aligned movement and which dominated the G77. The Afro-Asian movement was led by such luminaries as Chou En-lai, Nehru, Kwame Nkrumah, Sukarno. We Malaysians were seen as moderate leaders, capable of mediating between these more radical leaders and the West. We were known for our moderation, good sense, and reliability. We were a leader in the Islamic world as ourselves, and as we were, without our leaders having to put up false displays of pity. His memory has been scrubbed out quite systematically from our national consciousness. So you might not know this or much else about him, but it was Tengku Abdul Rahman who established our leadership in the Islamic world by coming up with the idea of the Organization of Islamic Countries, OIC, and making it happen. Under the leadership, Malaysia led the way in taking up the anti-apartheid cause in the Commonwealth and in the United Nations, resulting in South Africa's expulsion from these bodies. Here was a man at ease with himself, made it a policy goal that Malaysia be a happy country. He loved sport and encouraged sporting achievement among Malaysians. He was owner of many a fine racehorse. He called a press conference once with his stewards when his horse won at the Melbourne Cup. He had nothing to hide because his great integrity in service was clear to all. Now we have religious and moral hypocrites who cheat, lie, and steal in office, who propagate an ideologically shackled education system for all Malaysians while they send their own kids to elite academies in the West. Speaking of football, you're too young to have experienced the Merdeka Cup, which Tengku started. We had a respectable side in the 60s and 70s. Teams from across Asia would come to play in Kuala Lumpur. Teams such as South Korea and Japan, whom we defeated routinely. We were one of the better sides in Asia. We won a bronze medal at the Asian Games in 1974 and qualified for the Moscow Olympics in 1980. Today, our FIFA ranking is 157 out of 203 countries. That puts us in the lowest quartile, below Maldives, which is 149, the smallest country in Asia, as big as Subang Jaya, with just 400,000 people living about 1.5 meters above sea level, who have to worry that their country may soon be swallowed up by climate change. Here in ASEAN, we are behind Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, whom we used to dominate, and one spot above basketball playing Philippines. The captain of our illustrious 1970s side was So Chi-an, Arumugam Isabaka, Santok Singh, James Wong, and Mokhtar Dahari. They were heroes whose names rolled off the tongues of our school children as they copied them on the school field. It wasn't about being the best in the world, but about being passionate and united and devoted to the game. It was the same in badminton, except at one time we were the best in the world. I remember Wong Peng Soon, the first Asian to win the All England Championship, and then just dominated it throughout the 1950s. Back home, every kid who played badminton in every little kampong wanted to call himself Wong Peng Soon. There was no tinge of anybody identifying themselves exclusively as Chinese, Malays, Indian. Peng Soon was a Malaysian hero, just like each of our football heroes. Now we do not have an iota of that feeling. Where has it all gone? I don't think it is mere nostalgia that makes us think there was a time when the sun shone more brightly upon Malaysia. I bring up sports because it has been a mirror of our more general performance as a nation. When we were at ease with who we were and didn't need slogans to do our best together, we did well. When race and money entered our game, we declined. The same applies to our political and economic life.